So the water doesn't break first usually.
Mine never did.
Yeah.
I heard it's actually
Right.
nicer when it doesn't, right? Because it makes it more smooth.
It's more of a pressure equalizer. So, right, it's not quite as intense if you keep that water sac intact. And she may not start out with a lot of pain. It's kind of this gradual process. In my classes, I compare it to hiking in the mountains here. You start out in the flats, get into the foothills, then you get onto the real steep switchbacks. So it's like this gradual buildup. Or it's like if you like really hot showers, you can't just step into a shower as hot as you like it. You have to get in when it's warm, and then you crank up the heat until you've got that nice hot shower. But if you were just to get in it as hot as you like, it's, you know, it's too much. So that's how labor is. You get this nice hormonal feedback loop going of oxytocin and endorphins. And as more oxytocin is released, the contractions get closer, longer, and stronger. As the contractions get closer, longer, and stronger, you release more endorphins, which is the body's morphine, to help cope with it. And you will literally, you'll see her as birth partners go into this labor land, this birth zone, where she's kind of in an altered state of consciousness. She's a little bit out of it. And that's the primal brain, and that's where you want her to go, is into the, like that primal brain, because birth is very intuitive. You actually don't want her thinking her way through it in the forebrain, which is why it can feel like a lot of pressure is on the partner to like help her through this. But you know, if you've kind of surrounded yourself with a good birth team, maybe you've hired a doula that can kind of help you help her, then it's not quite so like, oh my gosh, her head's spinning around, what do I do? So it's going to be gradual, and the water can break at any point, but typically it will release late in labor. Yeah, and it can be like in early labor, you can, I went to work, I like worked half a day before I'm like, oh, and you kind of do, you kind of know when it's time. But yeah, like the first contraction, you don't want to climb in bed or sit on the couch and get out your contraction timer app or whatever, because that will just drive you insane. Like, just kind of pay attention and go about your day, and or try to get some rest.
That's Kelly's biggest fear. She thought we stayed at home too long last time.
Okay. How long after you got here was the baby born?
Maybe 3 hours, 2 hours.
Really?
3 hours.
See, that sounds perfect to me.
That's what I said.
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
Yeah, I thought it was perfect, but it was like right when we, I don't know, something shifted, and then all this pressure was released, and it went from being like really short contractions, you know, but like in close succession, to like big, much bigger ones.
Yes.
Like that.
So she wants to get here before
And
that
I was
shift.
like, my point was I was like, I'm gonna have to go get the neighbor to carry you to the car because you're not gonna make it. So I could understand if she was a little
So
scared
that's
at that
transition.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, like if she's standing in the living room without anything on and she won't go anywhere, if you're not planning a home birth, you might want to throw a blanket around her and like do the fireman's carry.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it's time to go. But yeah,
it was comfortable home. I remember it being really comfortable. I mean, if you ask her, I'm doing a completely different story.
well, yeah, you weren't the one
She
having
was in
uterine
the tub, and
contractions.
like, I kept on checking on her. I'm like, you okay? She's like, oh yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, and then it shifted suddenly.
And then, yeah.
And it
just
can,
turned
but
really
not every
quick.
mom is like that, and especially with first babies, you may get here and we'll kind of assess and see what's going on, and we might send you home. And you know, where are you guys planning to have babies? Hospital.
Birth center?
Birth center. Okay, so this birth center,
No,
different
the
birth center.
birth.
Okay, so they may send you home too. Typically you want to be in kind of later stage active labor before you stay. Like if you're getting ready to head to the hospital and she's grinning at you and chatting and like joking around, it's not time to go. Yeah, so you know, and as partners, I get that like you don't want to catch your own baby in the car at the side of the road, but typically you're going to arrive too early than too late. And it's normal to get sent home a time, maybe two. So
She was on her hands and knees in the back seat of the car.
It's not fun driving in the car
No.
when you're far.
And you know if the car ride sucks, it's probably time to be at your place of work.
Not safe.
Not happy.
I didn't care.
Not happy.
How
And then
far
it's like
from
hours.
3, 2, 1 is it to transition?
There are no set times. Like, I absolutely refuse to give times when it comes to labor, because 3, 2, 1 might be transition.
Okay.
3, 2, 1 typically though, like when we speak in a general textbook type labor, would be like late active labor. So like first stage is divided into 3 substages: early active, transition. So the 3, 2, 1, you're looking at like late active right before transition.
But there's never transition prior to 3, 2, 1. Like, what I'm trying to think is I'm in a lot of
Right.
pain, and yet it's still
Right.
not
You
time to go to the hospital.
Built up to that. Right, transition is often contractions, one on top of the other. They typically are like waves. And it may go up and then down and then back up again. They're, like a minute or two apart. They're one on top of the other. Some good signs of transition are like self-doubt. She's like, I can't do this, I don't want to do this. We're going to the hospital now and they're cutting this baby out of me, like I don't care. Shaking, burping. I think on the green and blue sheet for transition, it tells you some of the signs
Throwing up,
of
right?
transition. Throwing up can be a sign of transition, or just being nauseated. Yeah, we've never used those here. So there are 4 points on the sacrum where you can inject like little bubbles of water under the skin, and the water puts pressure on nerves that helps ease pain. But actually getting the injections is kind of stingy, and it will give pain relief for about 45 minutes. But it's there are, I don't know the exact, like I haven't been trained in the technique. And in all my 19 years of doing this, like I've never seen it done. So it's an option, it's just not super common to use those sterile water injections.
So I read the other day, I was reading the book that you guys.
The pregnancy,
passed.
childbirth, and the
Yeah,
newborn.
and they talked about actually not getting in the bath too soon because it could
Right.
slow your labor. Is that?
It is, but like early on, it's something to try, and
Okay.
it's not super well established. If it really slows things down and makes them stop, just get out.
Okay.
And if it's really
And it'll
labor,
pick back
it
up.
will pick back up.
Okay.
But if you need a rest,
You're
if it's
never
like
gonna stop
3 in the
labor.
morning and you just went to bed at 2, maybe you want to slow it down for a minute and like snooze in the tub for a while,
But
and
yeah,
then get
you're
out
never
and let
gonna
things pick back up.
make.
If it's
things-
really labor, it's not going to
it's
go
not
away.
going to.
Right. So, I mean, it's true, yes, but. Does that make sense?
I read that and just thought,
No, if you feel like you want water, then go get water. Yeah, shower, tub, whatever, so. All right, other questions, concerns?
See a scenario that she waited too long and baby's coming out and I'm by myself. What's the score?
Call the midwife,
Tell her up.
and she will talk you through it. Yep, just so you want to have her number in.
Let's not make that.
No, highly, like seriously, Gus, really unlikely with the first baby.
I just
So-
had 1.5 billion fast labor. I don't know why.
Keep thinking that, that's
I
great,
really,
you
like,
hold that.
I really think it's going to happen.
Your
Like,
sister was.
My sister was. Wow,
Okay.
maybe that's part of it.
Well, you can compare your labors to your sister's more than you can your mom.
My sister like only pushed for like 30 minutes, and it was like the fastest the doctor ever saw anybody push.
A first baby? Yeah. I was 45 minutes for a first baby. How long was her whole labor?
Well, like, I think she said 11 hours maybe. So
That's pretty, yeah,
That's pretty fast, right?
it's about half of the average.
I don't know. I just have this.
Sisters too.
No, do it.
Here too.
Yeah,
like,
that's,
chugging that raspberry leaf tea.
yeah, well, there's nothing wrong with holding that, like, positive thinking, that's
I
great.
knew when I was in labor though, so you'll know. You'll be like, oh, it's happening. I can
Exactly.
feel them. It's just like really sharp pains and they just keep coming back.
I felt like
You
my
know?
sister, I would like call her and be like, I don't know, I think that this is it. And she gave me the best advice, and I don't know. She told me, that if you want it to be a contraction, it's not usually a contraction. But when you feel it and you're like, oh no, no, this is scary, like,
Then it's
oh, this is
labor.
happening, that's probably a contraction.
Yeah.
Like when you kind of are like, oh dang,
Yeah.
that's usually when, like, you'll know it. There's no,
There's no guessing on the one, the
there's
real
no
one.
guessing.
Yeah.
And they'll, like she said, they get closer, stronger, and close, you know, like,
Longer.
it takes a while to build up.
It builds, and like with my first, I felt it in my back, and honestly, it felt like constipation. And he was a couple weeks early, and it was my first, so I'm not thinking labor. I'm like drinking prune juice and eating bran muffins. And this backache keeps getting closer, longer, and stronger. I'm like, duh. I didn't know, and that was labor, and it went away after a while. But you know, you can feel labor in the tops of your thighs, in your glutes. It can. We had a mom come in. And thought she was constipated. She's like, if I cannot deal with constipation, how am I gonna have a natural childbirth? And she was dilated to a 9 and had her baby a couple hours later. So her labor felt like she couldn't go to the bathroom.